what has driven me or drives me at this point is I'm not driven by greed, I'm driven by need. And I always want to be in position, I want to be light where there's darkness.
Future Current with Dr. Stephen Bean.
Welcome to the Future Current podcast. I'm Lainey Rowell here with Dr. Stephen Bean.
Hi, Lainey. How are you?
So good. So
good. All right. Listen, the guest for today is Marvin Smith. And Marvin is a community leader in education, but he was a former NFL linebacker.
Yes.
And so he told us some cool things. So let's get to it, huh?
Let's get to it.
All right. So Marvin, welcome to Future Current. We're glad to have you here today.
Well, I'm glad that I'm able to be here. Matter of fact, anywhere that somebody lets me show up,
You go.
hey,
I heard you earlier say wherever God takes you, right?
wherever He takes me.
I love that.
I just say, yes, Lord. Yes.
Well, then let's start there. Let's start with where have you been? I know our audience needs to know that you are a former NFL linebacker. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us a little about your story?
Okay. Former NFL linebacker, had an opportunity to play with the Rams and Raiders. Oh, let me take that back. They played me. I didn't play. So, I call it a short career. Had an injury. However, I was one of those kids at the time that my dad was an educator, so he was more worried about me getting educated than playing sports. So, and then growing up, it was one of the things in our household. You'll love this. My dad was, when it came to staying on top of academics, I said, Dad, all you need is a C to be active, to be eligible. He said, well, in this house, get a C, you're going to see your way up out of here. Get a C, we'll see you on the bench. I said, you can't do it. You can't. He said, try me.
That's awesome.
But what I learned from that, though, behaviorally, right?
Yeah.
As a behavioral background, was that it was motivation. So I was really good at something, but I had to stay on top of the academics. And that motivation drove me to do well over here when I didn't care. I didn't say I didn't care. It's when I wasn't focused. And later in life, man, it made a major difference.
So how do you feel you were as a student then?
I was a good student.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Was that because of your dad, or what other motivation?
Dad had a lot of influence. Dad didn't have a dad, so he was this kind of rough and tough, became an educator at the state of California, administrator, did really well, and so it was like tough love. And so he always was just sharing stories, and you'll love this one. He's one of the first classes that graduated from Fresno State when they were in the country, right, up farmland. And he said, he's a big high school star, and he's talking about, he told the story, all the girls like him. I'm like, okay, Dad, a lot of stories. And he goes, he said, when I went to Fresno State, English, I had to take bonehead English. I said, he's telling these stories. I said, okay, Dad. He said, so, they told me I was in high school, I didn't need senior English. I'm a star. He said, I go to college, now you're just one amongst a whole lot of guys that have done well. I'm in bonehead English. He said, he said, the professor is speaking, and he goes, I thought he was talking Greek. Right? I'm like, what do you mean? I said, well, Dad, okay, how did you pass? He said, you know what? I tightened my belt buckle. I looked around and said, somebody in here got to be dumber than me. So he said, there was something that motivated me. And so he ended up doing well and from there. So life has just been, and my dad's 92 now, and I see him almost on a regular basis, and that's a whole nother story.
Well, Marvin, you've had such an interesting arc of NFL to corporate to community work. Could you tell us a little bit about that path?
Well, when I call it my playing days ended due to an injury, when I first graduated from college and I signed with the Rams, I actually signed a contract with going aerospace it was a intern managementship program. And so I ended up eventually going into research and development. And I was the only one that looked like me, I was an administrator, going behind closed doors. And I had every secret clearance there was. But the interesting thing is, after a few years, I just had this epiphany. And I looked around and we all looked alike. We all had the same suit, same shoes. It's like we're these clones, right? Coveted position. And something's not right. Position that people die for. And basically my future was set, senior management. And so I turned around, I basically resigned, I quit. I said, I'm gonna go back into the community. No, the thought was, I looked around and I didn't see anybody of color. And I could have just said, hey, look at me, and I'm great, I'm here. And I just said, there has to be more to this. I said, either blacks, African Americans are stupid, or we just haven't had access. And not stupid, so it's access.
Yeah.
So I said, I want to be a bridge to create access.
I love that.
And the only way I could do that, I had to leave the position I was in and go back. A lot of athletes say, I'm going to go back to the neighborhood I grew up in. I'm going to give back. It doesn't always happen. And I was true to that. You know, mom and dad married 67 years before she passed away in the last, 3 years. So I went back to the community. And we started some enrichment programs. As a matter of fact, I even became an ordained minister. And that just started of the good works. Here's the story of my dad again. So I told my dad the story. And he goes, why in the bleep and bleep would you do that? And my dad's a guy, he's not a swearing man, but when words came out of his mouth that were kind of uncultured, he's like, okay. He said, why would you do that? I goes, you know, Dad, there was this wise man that once told me, he said, every time he said people would talk to him about problems, he would go, listen, I don't want to hear it. Either you're part of the problem or part of the solution. Either shut up or do something about it. I said, okay, Dad, so I shut up and I'm doing something about it.
Yeah.
And he dropped his head because he was the one that told me that. And he said, I didn't mean, you got to know where your next paycheck. I
The
said,
student
"Dad."
becomes the teacher there, right?
Yeah.
The master.
Yeah, so that was kind of the early stages of kind of setting all this direction. And now it's going on almost 40 years and I haven't looked back. And I just, like I say, what has driven me or drives me at this point is I'm not driven by greed, I'm driven by need. And I always want to be in position, I want to be light where there's darkness.
All right, so you went from being a linebacker in NFL and then aerospace. How did you get in STEM, by the way?
Pardon?
How did you get into the STEM field? Were you naturally inclined for science or?
Yeah, well, initially my undergrad, it's always the story, a science major. So I wanted to be a human factor engineer. So that was kind of driving me in that direction. So with a behavioral background, but that was such a very elite or field that, I mean, it was very narrow in scope because once you was in that position, it's like you're pigeonholed. So I was initially in college, I was a pre-med, and I'd never forget, I took my first science, it was a class, it was organic chemistry. And it was one of those dads kind of, right? I'm like, what the heck is this?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it's like, this is not, I said, let me take a semester off, and because I'm playing football as well, which is the rigor, and I'll come back in the spring and pick up organic chemistry. So in the interim, I took a psychology class as a filler. And I said, wow, this is me. And I changed my major, and I ended up getting my degree in psychology.
Oh, me too.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So then that kind of started this behavioral path.
Okay.
And then I started looking at, how do I utilize that? And as I looked at the counties, you got the strategic plan. Yeah. The 5-3-1.
Yeah.
And one of the initiatives is emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So that's speaking my language.
Well, that makes me think of, there's been this movement in psychology over the last 25, 30 years to positive psychology, where we actually have things that we can do for ourselves. And I think of it as not just intervention, but prevention. And that reminds me of your work, right? Because that's a big focus for you.
Yes. Well, and I think I know, it's kind of on this journey and this path. At one point I was saying, God, what do you want from, once I kind of said, I'm going to do this work, I I didn't have a plan. I just there was a movement in my heart. I said, so what do you want? And I became overwhelmed when I started looking at dysfunction. Because I looked at dysfunction, I started looking at research. It's like from the cradle to the grave, it's like dysfunction in society. I'm like, I was like, where do you cut into this sliver of dysfunction have the biggest impact? I said, God, talk to me. And it was, he said, prevention. Prevention versus intervention. He said, prevention, you catch it before it starts, and you put it on a pathway. Intervention, you will feed that monster forever. So I said, I'm going to spend my time in the area of prevention. Not to say that intervention is not needed, but that it's like you say, a calling. So I said, okay, I want it for especially being a former athlete. So looking at success, I said, so I want to park on the prevention side. So that kind of took me down that pathway. And then over the years, a friend of mine had started a company dealing with crisis intervention with teens. And what we would do is actually go and teens that were having problems, special ed, and we would move them from A to B when they're in crisis, pick them up from home, take them to our school districts, and we'd pick them up and take them all over the country to different behavioral boarding schools. And so I did that for years. And it was just, then again, it was rewarding work.
So you worked in districts and schools to help with prevention. What were you trying to prevent?
Trying to prevent these kids who were having these issues and just they're young, they're trying to figure out life. And then when you start to look at suicide rate since, post-pandemic, going up 100% for teens and, then like 600% for preteens, which has never been heard of. There's some social ills that are going on that are not being addressed. And so that's why I looked at this work was very important, because it's trying to address and find out, get to the root cause of what's going on with these kids.
Okay.
How can we help them and put them on a pathway of goodness? And unfortunately or fortunately, our portion of this crisis was to pick them up, escort them, like we call it crisis intervention. It's kind of speaking to their heart of some goodness, so when they got to where they're going, they could put them on a trajectory forward. But then that was the end of that. So for me, it was every time I did a case, it was personal. It was like, I was speaking to one of my coworkers one time. I said, it's like a mission from God. He said, you can't do that here. You can't be doing that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm talking about the good works, in reference. It's like, you got to be moved from the heart.
Yeah.
So I did that for years, consulting work and back and forth. But I would say probably what I'm most proud of, going back to my neighborhood, being the first community nonprofit to partner with the school district, which was Pomona Unified, and to be able to partner and create these innovative programs for at-risk youth, underrepresented. So we created, I call it my first program was create a center, tech center, and it was a fun center. And academia was saying, hey, you cannot mix fun and academia. They don't go together. I'm like, what are you? Because I come from the behavioral side. So wait a minute, fun and coding and in my own lessons, motivating. If I'm excited about this, I'll do that, right? I don't, you don't have to push it on me. So we created, I called it a fun center, and which was FUNN, Fundamental Understanding of Neurological Nurturing. I said, we're just getting in their heads with goodness. And all the kids, I would say this, all the kids in the program did well.
Because you reached them where the root cause was. So what are some of those root causes that you discovered?
Root causes are, I would see things being that are out of the kids' control, environmental, home, parenting, neighborhood, impoverished. So there's I call it a caveat of various stimuli in the environment that kids don't really control, and they need help, they need support, they need direction, they need somebody to, I use the term, love on them firmly, and show them some direction. Not tell them what to do, but tell them how to. Here's an opportunity. Here's an opportunity. And for me, the goal was always, how can we pour into this young man, young lady, not that to make them be like me, but to help them be them, and really discover their God-gifted talents. And once, I think any person, once they understand why they were created and why they're here, it's like a beautiful plant. It just takes off. You just continue to water.
So can you paint the picture for us? What were some of the interventions? Like, what did the program look like?
Well, the early stages of the program, we created a center that kids could come to after school. They didn't have to be out in the streets. They didn't have to be in fear of the gangs. And they would come there, and it was a fun center. So we had computer repair, kind of CTE kind of thought in mind, but in a collective center. And they'd come there, and we'd have groups, and we wouldn't have teachers. We had facilitators, and everything was student led. And a facilitator for there just to help facilitate, kind of, I call them guardrails, kind of keep them within the parameters, and let them excel and explore. And it was more of an exploring environment.
Yeah.
And by doing so, they were going back to school, and they were doing very well in their classes. And all of a sudden, the teachers are coming over to the center like, what are you doing? Johnny's never been focused the whole time he's been in school. So Johnny's not engaged. Johnny's not having fun. Johnny knows we're not teaching educational standards. We're looking at industry standards. And, and part of the success of that, I ended up having kids end up going to Dartmouth, Air Force Academy, Berkeley, SC, on and on and on and on. Kids who were never supposed to succeed at nothing. And they grew up to be great human beings. And I guess I'm getting old. I still call them kids, and they're like, they have kids. I'm like, geez, what's going on here? I feel like I'm just getting started.
I love the symbolism of the name of the centers that you had was fun, because when we give students the opportunity to explore and discover their own learning, it becomes fun, naturally, right? And they become engaged, and I think that's the secret to getting kids to learn, is getting them engaged and focused on learning, and learning can be fun. And that's what you discovered.
Well, and I think that's part of this whole mindset behind, I look at myself as a lifelong learner. Learning's fun. I like engaging in things I can't do. It's frustrating at times, but it's like, that's what kind of engages me, because I'm going to figure this out, and not run away from it. But I look at it kind of that encoding. When we start to look at things behaviorally, it's like being rewired and looking at the science behind it. I mean, then going forward from the center, I had an opportunity through HUD, and I was involved. I always get called in on these projects. So it was a housing project in Long Beach, and it was a public-private partnership. And my role was to come in. They see what we're doing in Pomona. Said, we want you to do the same thing at this big housing complex. We're going to give you all the space to create a center, because the ones who are tearing up the place are not the adults. It's the teens. That's what they have time on their hands. There's nothing. What else are they going to do? So we opened the center, and I got NASA, and we had some great partnerships. I was able to get NASA involved, and NFL, and all these great partners came to the table, and the kids were excited. It was like, and then we had a lot of people coming to watch, like, what's going on? What's the magic formula? I said they're excited. They look forward to it. And then one day we had NASA. Some of the scientists were there working with the kids on a project, and I'll never forget. I'll use Johnny, it's generic, and one of the scientists asked the kid something basic educational stuff, and he was stumbling. I watched this, and I'm like, Johnny. I didn't want to embarrass him. After I said, what are you doing? What are you doing during the day? And he goes, Mr. Marvin, you don't get it. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I'm watching my back. And I went, oh. Now we're talking about safety.
Yeah.
I said,
Root
wait a
cause,
minute.
safety.
You're in a school district. It's a blue ribbon school district. It's Long Beach. He goes, no, where we live, we go to a different school district, which was predominantly is 95% Latino. And there's this part of Long Beach where it got gerrymandered, and it's 5% of these black kids are going to the school district. He said, oh, we're fighting, and we're outnumbered. And I said, right there, safety. They're not learning. So I went to the councilwoman of the district, driven by need. And I agreed. And I told the councilwoman, I said, hey, we have a problem. This is a situation. I got folks like NASA, the NFL working with these kids, and some of the basic skill sets they don't have. So what are we going to do? And I said, why are they not part of Long Beach School District, Blue Ribbon? And she's a newer council person. Says, let me check into that. Come back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk. Because, yeah, you're right. We need to do something about that. So I learned a little more about politics. And so we came back. She goes, yeah, Marvin, what happened? This district, it was years ago, it was kind of changed, and those kids were kind of, well, the bottom line is they didn't want those kids to affect their bottom line. School district, their test scores.
Terrible.
And I like, okay. And the question was, she says, Marvin, do you want to do something about this? I always get baited. I'm like, yeah. I said, do you really want to do something? Yes. What do I have to do? She said, start a charter school. You know what? Hit my head. I never forget. Hit my head on that. That's what I'm going to do. Oh my God. I didn't know what I was getting into. Good thing I didn't.
Yeah, it's interesting because I could see why you would be interested in that, because developing, first of all, not every kid learns the same, right?
Exactly.
And they need different experiences, like the experience you provided.
Yeah.
And many students, especially boys, by the way, research shows that boys need a lot more kinesthetic learning, more discovery learning, more engaging, and that's what I hear from your centers. And so, is that what really drives you? Is just finding ways to engage the youth that you work with, or is it more? Is that the root cause you feel, is that they're not engaged?
Yeah, they're not engaged, and I think the bigger construct behind that, because there's systems in place that the kids have no control over.
Yeah.
That almost, I call them roadblocks, and they don't know what those are. So somebody has to be an adult and step up to, it's like a dam that's blocked, right? To open things up.
Remove those barriers.
Remove those barriers.
So did you use those principles then in the charter school that you started?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, all I can say is we were deemed, well, it took almost 4 years to get chartered. So
at a Long Beach? Or is this another?
Paramount.
Oh, Paramount.
Because denied, the process. County Office of Education, L.A., denied. State Board of Education says, wow, we've never seen anything this innovative. This is so out of the box. And it was like, but you should be chartered at the local level. Why are you guys not? What's going on here? So can you? And then the local goes, oh, okay, we'll work with them. I don't.
Well, what was it that the state saw that was innovative in your program?
Well, this whole thing was the learning, the pedagogy.
Okay.
Brain-based learning.
Okay.
Experiential. I mean, it was based around that, based on the science. It was based around basically how we think, and not just traditional pedagogy from education. So, especially with the behavioral background, I said, hey, this is how things work. If the brain thinks this way, if we encode information a certain way, it clicks, it works. And then I had a lot of great people around me, minds that were, I guess they let me be the one to beat my head up the door. And once the door opened, I brought all the experts in to do all the great work. So, so they just said, yeah, it was probably one of the best charters they'd ever seen. And go back, and local level said, oh, well, okay, we'll work with them. So So an exact same thing happened. Got denied again at the local level. Got denied at the county office of education again. And we got back to the state, and they said, this is absurd. And as a matter of fact, they gave me a startup grant. The state gave me a startup grant for almost $1 million.
Wow.
That I couldn't even use until we were chartered.
Yeah.
So I went almost 3 years with a startup grant that could never be used.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, long story short, the school was very successful. Since we were considered at risk, it's been a minute. So we had our growth rate, we had to go up 3 points a year on the test scores. And Dr. Bean, we were going up 25, 30 points annually. To the point they're doing the local district. And matter of fact, when the school opened, they made sure they sent all the kids, both school districts, sent all the kids they didn't want. And all of a sudden our test scores are they're going up by leaps and bounds because they're cheating. They're teaching to the test. I said, no, they're motivated. They're excited. They come to school. Yeah. You guys are going to have to go get them, for truancy. They're lining up before the teachers get here. And so I thought I was going to do that the rest of my life. And then the politics, you deal with the politics. So from the standpoint, you got to get chartered every 5 years.
Yeah.
So that last year, I'm spending probably majority of my time in Sacramento, going through the process, but yet and still the day-to-day operational things where I needed to be, and then garnering the resources and finding all the things that I do. I was so tied up dealing with Sacramento and the politics, I couldn't stay local and build capacity. I had the Gates Foundation. I had a lot of supporters that, hey, once you become, let me back up. So being chartered at the state level, we became not just a school, we became a school district. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all my counterparts are like, Johnny come lately, you're not an educator. So it was fun. But when I look at the most, I hated the politics part of it. So that was my role, to fight for kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was my role. I'm a fighter. I'm going to fight for what's right for you. And I need to go out and garner more resources to help me push back these barriers. But we ended up closing school. I didn't let them close me. I self-closed, so I wouldn't have that going against me. But here we go again. The success of it. I got kids to this day, grown adults, who've done very well, and I get calls like, Mr. Marvin, what's going on? You know what? We need a program like you had. I need something like that for my kids now. So I'm just going, okay, God, what are you up to? And even when this opportunity came to meet you, Dr. Bean, and you, Aslani, it's like, okay, I'm going, okay, I don't seek out anything. It's like things just happen. I'm going, okay, what are you doing? I'm available, Lord. So that probably was my biggest joy. And I got so much recognition from that. I started having school districts from all over the country that were flying me in. And that's when the charter schools were kind of hotbeds, right? And they said, hey, we're looking at your model. What can we do to bring it here? And so I'd always have these groups who were kind of backing the movement, but then I always had to deal with the politics on the other side of the equation, which it wasn't congruent. It's like, this is crazy. So from that point, I said, Lord, I just want whatever you need from me.
And so what are you doing now?
What I'm doing now, I'm involved in the ministry. I'm part of the, on an international level, if we say international, that's why I get a chance to be a spiritual ambassador. So I get a chance to actually now broker peace. And so I'm involved I go back and forth to D.C., and it's a group of guys that we just look at how can we look at reconciliation, and it's still based around my heart. How can we help, societal needs continue to move forward? But my heart, our teens. I can't get that out of me. That just because they're vulnerable. They don't know, and they don't choose their parents. They don't choose their environment. They don't have no control of any of that. So that at the end of the day, if you say where my heart's at, my heart is, and I'm still in the back of my mind, I'm looking at how can I continue to implement programs that can have that impact.
Yeah.
Because these parents are looking for it.
Okay, so we got to wrap up because I got to let you guys go. But can we do a little lightning round real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Real quick, okay? So these are the fastest answers you can give us, all right? One word that describes your leadership style.
Transformational.
All right. One strength you're seeing in kids today.
Resiliency.
One thing that helps kids feel seen.
An ear to hear.
Say that again?
An ear to hear. Otherwise, someone that's willing to listen to them. Because a lot of times we're speaking at them, but we're not hearing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Wow.
One thing every kid deserves.
An opportunity.
Very cool.
You were quick on your feet.
I know, right?
This is great.
And then just want to give you an opportunity. One of the things when I had a chance to talk to you earlier, you kind of talked about how you really look for opportunities where you can step back so they can step up. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So
succession leadership.
Yeah.
I feel strong in succession leadership because if we don't prepare the next wave of leaders, and when we have leaders that we don't like, then we can't complain because we didn't do our job in preparing them to lead. So, I guess in closing note on that, my ego's not big enough, or I don't have a big ego that I have to be in front. I like kicking them into the front,
Love that. All right. Well, Dr. Bean, I think we need to ask him what's giving him hope right now. Does that sound fair, Marvin? What's something that's giving you hope right now?
Hope is my faith. That continues to give me hope. But hope that I know there's good people out in the world still. And being here, having the chance to meet you, Dr. Beam, and you as well, to me, it's just another significant that there are good people out there. So hope is continue to connect with light.
Yep.
Well, we'd say the same thing for you. That gives me hope, too, is to have leaders like you who care for our kids, who understand our children, who understand their needs, give them prevention strategies before they have to, be faced with interventions. We hope that they don't get to that point. So we thank you for your work, being very proactive in that work, and we hope you continue.
Well, thank you. And a closing note, I sit on the board for CIF, which is Center for Individual and Family Therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Are you CIF?
Yeah,
so
I'm familiar with CIF.
I'm on their board. I'm the first African-American in the history of the organization.
Great.
And it's just interesting, the board chair calls me, he goes, "Hey, Marvin, are you still black?" I said, "Well, the last I looked in the mirror," he said, and then I love his heart. He goes, "Listen, hey, we've been talking about really wanting to expand our services and really reach communities that we're not, because we're based out of Orange County. And I know your background and love for you to be part of the board." I said, "Let me pray about it." And I said, "Yes." He said, well, one thing I liked about that scenario is that a lot of people talk about things, I call it, but I want, like you're talking about think tanks. But I said, I like to think and do. If we're going to think about it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that kind of moved me in that direction. And they're starting to do some innovative stuff. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll say that SIFT was very helpful for my children because my wife had passed in 2020, and so we sent our kids to counselors at SIFT. So yeah, very familiar with it.
World.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you for joining us, Marvin, and continue doing the good work you're doing.
Now, before we let you go, we need to know, how can people stay connected to you?
I don't want anybody connected to me. I got too much connect. No, I can. I'm simple, right? I'm not on social media by design because I understand certain things, and so. But I have, if they really want to contact me, I have an email.
Okay.
And that email is the number one, extreme, without the E, XTREME, brain, @gmail.com.
I'll put that in the show notes. We'll make sure that gets out there so people can reach out to you. But friends, please, sparingly.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy.
But I'm open. I mean, I get opportunities to go and speak, speaking engagements. But it's like, I don't know, I don't seek.
Yeah.
Things just happen.
Yeah.
So.
Love that.
Appreciate you so much. And
thank you, Marvin.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Future Current, a podcast from the Orange County Department of Education. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow, rate, and review Future Current on your favorite podcast platform. The opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Orange County Department of Education, its leadership, or staff. To learn more about the programs and people shaping the future of Orange County, visit ocde.us.